Gotta love 1985, 86. The Chicago Bears shuffling crew singing Super Bowl Shuffle. That was the Bears team that absolutely demolished the New England Patriots back in the 1980s. And with Jim McMahon and Walter Payton and people like that. It was like, I remember that. I used to love that. It was 85, so I was like, what, 12 years old, I guess. And I used to love that video because it was so silly. It was so 80s also. But yeah, that's Super Bowl weekend, buddy. It is February 1st. So we've got through January and we brushed that off our back and ended on a awful, horrible, terrible note, but we're not going to get into that because I'm going to try to escape all political stuff because I only had 3 viewers last week. And I'm wondering if my political stuff is starting to turn people off. I don't know. Honestly, I don't care, but you know what? I'm just going to keep going. And shoot, I just have my flamingo just has his neck up there. Oh, well, don't have time to fix that. Oh, well. The boy had his friend over yesterday. They came down here and they were messing all my stuff up. So maybe if I move this down a little bit. There we go. That might be a bit better. There we go. Of course, now we got the light above my head. So let me see if I can try to... That'll work. So there we go. So there we go. There's my flamingo. I had to get that in there. So it is Super Bowl Eve. 24 hours from now, we're probably looking at somewhere in the third quarter, probably. The Super Bowl the halftime show already been over. I don't think they'd be in the fourth quarter at this point. It starts at 6:30, and then the halftime show is like 40 minutes or something like that. And just typical football games, like 3 hours anyway. And then the Super Bowl, you got to have lots of commercials so you can throw all the commercials you're getting for $5 million in there. So I would say somewhere around the third, maybe beginning of the fourth quarter starting now. The game would have started 3 hours ago. So 21 hours ago is when the Super Bowl starts. So 21 hours from right now, the Super Bowl starts. And for the first time, we're actually going to have a party at our house. Super Bowl Sunday used to be, before I met my wife, I would just watch it at my house, with my mom and stepdad usually, or just my mom, or I just watch it by myself. And then when I started dating Dawn, we would watch it together. Sometimes just ourselves also, whatever. And then we started going over to our friend Vanessa and Frank's house. They had Super Bowl parties for a long time. And then we just sort of got away from that a little bit, which is fine. And a couple years ago, our sister-in-law, Catherine, wanted us to go over to their house. We'd already had plans, which is the same. I would like to go see Super Bowl at their house, but that'd be nice. And so we'll see. But tomorrow we will be having our first Super Bowl party ever at our house. Not a lot of people, but we're going to have some friends of ours from scouting come over. And Dawn's got the absolute perfect menu. So I'm actually very excited, looking forward to that. We're going to have, some chicken, shredded chicken. And we're going to have a lot of macaroni and cheese. We're going to have lots of appetizers, pigs in a blanket, baby pizzas, monkey bread, taco dip, what else? Mozzarella sticks. So we're going to have all kinds of goodies and stuff like that. So, and that doesn't get started. We told them to get here about 5:30, 6 o'clock-ish. So they'll get here about that time. They have a scout event early Sunday morning. And then there's a Pokemon event going on from 2 to 5 tomorrow. Menchochino, a new Pokemon you can only get through going to Pokestops and doing research. So my wife and I will do that for an hour and a half, whatever, just walking up and down our street, our main street out there that has a ton of Pokestops, and get as many of them as we can. You only get 3 at a time, so we have to, we have, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, like close to 19 to 20, real close to us. So that'll be good. So we probably get about 7. We get about 21 of those Menchochinos if we hit every single one of them and get all the research done. So we'll see what happens in the next time. So it should be a reasonably good day. Today was a pretty nice day also. My daughter had her scout dinner, and she's now scout first class, which means she's halfway to her eagle right now, which is really cool. So we're doing that. The boy will be shifting over to scouts at the end of March, so we got that going on. And we signed off on our mortgage. We did a God, I can't. My mind isn't working right, but we did redid our mortgage and got some money there, so that'd be good. So. Enough about me. It's 6 minutes in, and I've been talking blah, blah, blah stuff. So what do we got going on today? Kobe Bryant passed away this week. This is the big news going on. Super Bowl predictions will be going on. Some people. Famous writer also passed away. New stuff, including Strawberry Coke, which should be interesting. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Danny Trejo Day, CGI Pee Wee Herman, Cal bedroom set, and Twister bedroom sets. We'll talk about that as well. Mountain Dew Zero Sugar, chicken harnesses, breaded Spam. I don't like Spam. Falcon Winter Soldier has been moved up. We'll tell you when that is. Cinnamon rolls with a twist. Strangers on the opposite sides of the earth made a earth sandwich, which I'd be interesting to talk about. First pictures, new pictures of the sun, some Valentine's Day stuff, some St. Patrick's Day. Is this St. Patrick's Day stuff, or is it something else? Valentine's Day. No, I don't think there's any St. Patrick's Day stuff, but there is Valentine's Day stuff. Groundhog Day is tomorrow. It's Groundhog Day. A monkey attempts to kidnap a baby. Interesting as well. Starbucks comes back with a new, not Starbucks, Dunkin' actually has a new drink, which is interesting. PETA has a strange idea for Groundhog Day. And many more to discuss. So some more death in there, looks like. New kind of Aurora Borealis has been discovered. So we'll talk about that. Ghost dogs. We got all kinds of stuff going on. So here we go. A missing cat. You know, your pet cat's been missing for a while. You put up signs everywhere for your missing cat, try to find it because you miss it and are worried about it, stuff like that. Well, a missing cat was found sitting next to one of his own missing cat posters. So he was in this window of a shop that had the missing cat poster posted in the window, and the cat that was on the picture was sitting almost the exact same way as he was in the poster. So they say, oh, look at that cat. Looks a heck of a lot like that one in that missing poster. That is the same cat. So that was kind of cool. That's kind of a neat story. 900,000 in counterfeit money was seized at the border between northern Minnesota and Canada. $900,000 in counterfeit money. Wow. How can you, where do the counterfeiters get that make money? That's kind of the weird story about that. A baby boy attempts to sing along to a Karen Carpenter's hit and is adorable. His mother is singing to him one of Karen's hits, and the baby's trying to sing along with it. I bring that up mostly due to the fact that I think Karen Carpenter is one of the most underrated singers of our time. Tragic death due to anorexia. Our time. Tragic death due to anorexia. And it's a shame because her voice was magical. She had wonderful Christmas music, and also she had a couple of other really good regular songs that I put on my playlist, Rainy Days and Mondays. You know, that's the big one I can remember. There's probably a few that I can't think of all the stuff that she's done, but she did a lot of stuff, and she had just the most beautiful voice and wonderful voice. And I think more people should be listening to Karen Carpenter because her voice was just so wonderful. A doctor cuts a baby's face during a C-section, then blames the baby for moving too much. That's just a ridiculous story. Doctor's neglect in trying to get the baby out via C-section goes a little too far in a cut, and then blames the baby, who doesn't even know what is going on for moving around too much. What do you say? Don't move, baby, while I cut you out of there. No, you need to pay more attention. You need to focus more. So hopefully something will get done to that doctor and he'll get punished for that. Valentine's Day, and Heinz has a interesting idea for your Valentine. Valentine's Day is next Friday, the 14th. So not this Friday coming up, it's next Friday, right? Because today's the 1st. Yeah, so 7 days from now is the 8th. So that means that next Friday is the 7th, which means Valentine's Day is in 2 weeks, which is good because I got to get on some stuff. I know what I want to get first. I need to buy it, but it's a little expensive, and I just don't want to drop that on there right now. So we'll see. But Heinz is releasing tomato ketchup truffles in a heart-shaped box. Whenever I hear truffles, I think of the chocolate truffles, which I kind of like. I've got a taste for them. We've been getting chocolate-covered truffles for Christmas from some of our vendors at work, and I always like to gobble down on them. I think they're really tasty. The only thing I don't like about it is the cocoa powder on top of the truffle is just really bitter. I guess maybe like real chocolate, I guess. But the truffle itself, I like how it tastes. It's hard to describe. It's chocolate, but it isn't like your typical chocolate. And then a couple weeks ago when the kids and my wife were camping, I got 2 ice creams. I got the butter beer from Yanglings, which was okay. It tasted more like root beer to me, but it was okay. And I got Ben & Jerry's truffle ice cream, and that was actually really, really good also. Again, having that truffle, that it's kind of a solid chocolate taste, but it's hard to describe. But I cannot imagine a tomato ketchup truffle. I mean, truffles got to be something else also, because you have the pig sniffing truffles, and they seem to be looking more for like mushrooms and stuff, which I guess is a form of truffle as well. I don't know, but it just does not sound appetizing to me. I like Heinz ketchup, but not as a truffle. So I don't know why you would even consider getting that for your Valentine, but who knows? Something pink and tasty you might want to get for your Valentine. Well, you'd have to go to Japan, unfortunately, to get it, and hopefully it'll make its way over here eventually. But you've all heard of vanilla Coke, vanilla orange Coke, cinnamon Coke, cherry Coke, lime Diet Coke. There's all kinds of flavors being added to Coke now. Well, there's a new one, strawberry Coke, which actually sounds interesting, but is now out and about, but you can only get it in Japan right now, which stinks because I kind of want to try it. But if you happen to be in Japan, or you know somebody in Japan and they're going to come back, hey, ask them to get you a strawberry Coke and let me know how it is. So that's pretty cool. Nintendo accidentally may have revealed, they didn't want to reveal it right away, but they might have accidentally revealed that one of their more popular Wii U games, Super Mario 3D World, will be coming to the Nintendo Switch, which my son is absolutely astonished about because he absolutely loved it. So hopefully that'll be popping up really, really soon. Taron Egerton, who was shamefully snubbed for an Oscar, and Scarlett Johansson, who was nominated for 2 Oscars, are circling a Little Shop of Horrors remake as their possible next pictures. Taron is known for the Elton John movie where he actually did the singing on it. Scarlett had, I think, an album when she was younger, so she can sing as well. So to have the 2 of them in Little Shop of Horrors remake, maybe. The last one we didn't have was from like the 1985-86 era, back with the Super Bowl Shuffle I just played earlier today, the Steve Martin, Rick Moranis one, which was fantastic. So I don't know, but it might be interesting to see these 2 and see what they do in the 21st century with Little Shop of Horrors. It's been 30-some years, so it's not like they're doing a new one every other month, which it seems like they're doing with a lot of these. The big game, Super Bowl, all that stuff is tomorrow. It is also one of the biggest drinking nights of the year. Not the biggest. That is the day before Thanksgiving, actually, but that's besides the point. But it is a big drinking day, and it's a big party day, and or going out to bars and hanging out, stuff like that. Well, Tostitos is deciding that they're going to do something different. this year, you are actually the new Tostitos bag can now act as a breathalyzer. It has something built into the bag itself that after eating the Tostitos at your party or at the bar or whatever, you breathe into the bag and it can register if you were drunk or not drunk. Now, you would think that that would be a onion story, but no, it's a real life story. So go see if you can get yourself a Tostito bag that is a breathalyzer. Hamilton, the world famous Broadway musical that sells out everywhere it goes. It came to Baltimore last year and it's coming again this year. Lin-Manuel Miranda is the guy who wrote it and starred on Broadway. Announced that the Hamilton movie will be is being made. You know, musicals being of plays getting made into movies are coming on the screen now, but the singing still intact. So Hamilton is coming to a movies very soon, and it will be bringing back the original cast. So Lin-Manuel Miranda is going to be bringing back the entire cast of the original that originated the Broadway show. And they'll be doing the movie version, which I think is actually probably a good way of doing things if you can get the people who originated when they did the new version of The Producers. They got Matthew Broderick and Nathan Lane, who were the ones who debuted that when Mel Brooks put that on Broadway. They were the first ones in that they were in the movie version as well. So it's something that you can think about, and it's a good option. So that'll be good about that. Speaking of holidays, a new bill aims to make the day after Halloween a school holiday in Florida. Now, that's a great idea. It would never take off in our area, but, you know, making the day after Halloween or even the day after the Super Bowl, for that matter, being a vacation, a school holiday, so you don't have to happen. But that'd be kind of cool. I'd rather have that instead of making Halloween always be the last Saturday in October, which I think, while on the surface makes sense because you can party and be out later and do stuff like that. Halloween is October 31st and always will be for me. And it would only be actually on October 31st once every like 8 years or something like that. So that'd be kind of stink, but we'll see what happens. Also holiday, The Expendables, that series of movies that Sylvester Stallone did, where he brought back all the old 1980s action stars, you know, like Harrison Ford and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Bruce Willis and Wesley Snipes and Chuck Norris and the like that. Well, Jason Statham, who is part of that crew, as being part of the new Expendables, is discussing an Expendables Christmas movie, which with Die Hard, with the whole thing is Die Hard, a Christmas movie, blah, blah, which is actually an action film. To have them do a Christmas movie with the Expendables is kind of an interesting take on things, and we'll see if that actually happens. A ghost dog was captured on film by paranormal investigators. So, you know, paranormal investigators investigating a location, filmed a ghost dog. Now, you sometimes hear about, you know, ghosts getting caught on video, stuff like that, but ghost animals have never really been caught on video by these paranormal investigators. And to have one do that is, you know, kind of interesting, kind of miraculous. That's kind of cool. January 31st, which was yesterday, is now known as Danny Trejo Day in Los Angeles. Danny Trejo is the actor who started off as a criminal, and when he went to jail, he decided to clean himself up, went out and did a bunch of roles, a lot of Robert Rodriguez roles, but he's done a whole bunch of other stuff as well, action films and family films, stuff like that. Machete is his famous character, stuff like that. But it has, you know, LA, since he's from that area and has lived there his whole life, has named January 31st as Danny Trejo Day. So couldn't happen to a better guy. From what I've heard, he's one of the nicest guys out there. So that's pretty cool. No, I don't want to embarrass anybody, so I'm going to cross that one out. Let's see. Black man was discriminated against at a bank while trying to deposit a check from a racial discrimination suit. That's just one of the unfortunate, ironic things, but it's the fact that, you know, someone is still getting discriminated, a race, a creed, whatever is getting discriminated is still absolutely terrible, and unfortunately is not going to go anytime soon. But the fact that he was discriminated at a bank while depositing a check that he got back when he sued another person for racial discrimination and won is kind of unique and interesting. I guess not interesting, it's terrible, but the irony is kind of thick on that. It was kind of interesting. I know it sounds terrible to say, it sounds interesting, but racism is not interesting and discrimination is not interesting. But the idea that something like that could happen, that synergy, is weird. Maybe that's what I should be looking for. Lady gives blankets and beanies to iguanas that were stung by cold snap. Last week I told you about in Florida, lizards were being frozen off of their trees and falling to the ground, some of whom died, and the Florida people were picking them up, and there was an increase in lizard meat. Well, apparently this woman didn't want to eat the lizard, and the lizard was still alive, but wanted to take care of him. So she brought out a little blanket and a little hat for him and helped him get back to his warmth, I guess, which is weird since he's cold-blooded. But the fact of the matter is that does happen, and I'm glad she did it. So good on that. We do have some more Australia stuff coming up, but that's going to be on the next page. Viking lingerie looks hot. Actually, looks really, really hot. Technically, really any lingerie looks hot, but Viking lingerie looks kind of it's a new thing that's been created by an artiste, and it looks empowering and tough, but also hugely sexy. And if you're into that type of stuff, hey, check it out. So are there any pictures that I can show on here? Let me see if I can look it up on my images. Viking lineage. How much their lineage? Spicy lingerie. I'm just really just getting up regular. There's the Swedish designer who made it. There's somewhat of a picture of it. So kind of hot and sexy, but also kind of empowering for them as well. So, ooh, that's a good picture. So, pretty cool. Lingerie is nice. And hopefully that'll build up my ratings because I got to show some lingerie. All right. So we got that. The Thing, that movie that John Carpenter remade from a movie in the 1960s called The Thing from Another World, is getting another remake. Again, not too upset about it because they haven't been doing massive remakes of it. It was made in 1982, so it's been years after that. I mean, I'm still against remakes in general, but the fact is it's been close to 30 some years since the last one, 30, almost 40 years since the last one. So, it's time to, still last one. So, it's time to, still go see the originals, obviously, but it's fun to see maybe what they can do with updated special effects and storyline. But in this case, it is going to be getting a remake based on the book. So apparently there's a book based on The Thing from Another World, which I didn't know. So we shall see about that. Dan Brown, known for the Da Vinci Code and his series of characters about, I forget his full name, but Langdon is his last, Robert Langdon, who in the movies was played by Tom Hanks and directed by Ron Howard. They will be doing a TV show based on The Lost Symbol, which is Dan Brown's new book that I don't think has come out yet, but it's coming out, I guess I would say probably sometime this year. Let me just see if it's come out yet. Let's go to Amazon. The Lost Symbol by Dan Brown. Oh, it has come out. Okay. Came out September 15th. What in the world? Oops, I don't want to catch that. What's the film about? Let's see. Sorry, the lost symbol. What's the story about? Let's see. Famed harvest symbologist Robert Langdon answers an unexpected summons to appear at the U.S. Capitol building. His plans are interrupted when a disturbing object, artfully encoded with 5 symbols, is discovered in the building. Langdon recognizes in the find an ancient invitation to a lost world of esoteric, potentially dangerous wisdom. With his mentor is kidnapped, Langdon realizes that the only way to save Solomon is to accept the mystical invitation and plunge headlong into a clandestine world of Masonic secrets, hidden history, and one inconceivable truth, all under the watchful eye of Dan Brown's most terrifying villain to date. Set within the hidden chambers, tunnels, and temples of Washington, D.C., the lost symbol is an intelligent, lightning-paced story with surprises at every turn, one of Brown's most riveting reads. That has not been made into a movie yet, surprisingly, with Tom Hanks, because they're going to be making a TV show out of it. NBC has made a pilot order for it. They haven't guaranteed they're going to make the show, but they said, hey, why don't you do a Robert Langdon book or show based on this book, The Lost Symbol, and we'll turn to a pilot and see if it does well. So we'll see if that happens, and we'll see what comes up with that. We don't know if that'll be on NBC proper, or if they make that something that's on the NBC streaming service that'll be coming out very soon. That sounds like something you would put maybe on the NBC streaming service, and maybe you could coax Tom Hanks into doing it again. I don't know. So we'll see. The New York region, or New York State, I guess, in general, requires a permit to look at stars, meteors, and UFOs. So if you do not have a permit, you cannot look at stars, meteors, or UFOs. Alrighty then. That just seems rather odd and rather weird. Oh, what do I know? In other space news, glowing green dunes have been spotted in areas where you can see the aurora borealis, and nobody knew really what they were. They thought they were cool looking. But scientists say, you know what? We've never seen them before. We believe they are a new type of aurora. So a new type of aurora has been discovered, and that's kind of cool. That's still one of the things on my bucket list is I want to go see the aurora borealis in person. So maybe someday. But that's a new version that you might be able to see soon. A contact lens prototype uses night vision and AR heads-up display. So if you have to wear contacts, you might be able to wear them out at night and be able to see in the dark in night vision format, and also be able to have a AR heads-up display so you can see pictures and stuff right in front of you as well. Like the ad they were showing. Oh, the computer's really making some noise. I think it's okay though, it's not hot. Keyboard's a little hot, but oh well, I'm not worried about that. But the picture they had, it's like they had they were looking at the sky and they saw a constellation, and the constellation was marked out about what the picture was and what kind it was. So it'd be like Scorpio or something. So they were looking actually in the sky and can see Scorpio, but then in their contact lens, they saw it lined out in white that says this is Scorpio. So you know what it is. That's kind of cool. As long as you have a permit in New York, that would be fine to do. So that sounds kind of interesting for those who need contacts and might get people to get contacts in the end. Owen Wilson has been cast in the new Loki TV show coming from Disney Plus next year, I believe. So we don't know what role he will be playing or how big it will be, but he will be in the new Loki TV show. So I don't know how I feel about that. Owen Wilson has never been really one of my favorite actors. He was great in Zoolander, but other than that, just sort of like, he's kind of a goofy sort of guy, and we'll see what happens. But have him in the Loki series. We'll see who he plays and see what it turns out to be. So it should be interesting about that. Lucky Charms and Cinnamon Toast Crunch are getting their own ice creams now. Their Lucky Charms, at least, has just opened up into the cookie world, and now they're going to be getting ice cream by both Cinnamon Toast Crunch and Lucky Charms. I had the Cinnamon Toast Crunch coffee creamer. It's fantastic. So this actually might not be too bad. And Lucky Charms ice cream could be interesting as well. It does have marshmallows in it, so we'll see what happens. Wonder Woman leggings are a new thing just in time for the new Wonder Woman movie coming out in June. You can get leggings that look like Wonder Woman's uniform or costume or whatever, and wear them and show your Wonder Woman-esque love. Pee Wee Herman is toying with the idea of having his likeness as Pee Wee Herman getting scanned into a computer and can be forever a CGI character thrown into movies way after he's passed away. So just think, in 2075, 2100, they're still making movies. Hey, why don't we make a new Pee Wee Herman movie? So they bring out the CGI Pee Wee Herman and make him a star. So that's just kind of a creepy, interesting sort of thing, but that's kind of cool. Studies show online dating apps lead to less divorce. I guess there are some dating apps out there now that their whole point is that you find someone who is your perfect match. And if they can do that and get through all the crap, it makes sense that you would get less divorce. My wife and I have been married now for 16 years. It'll be 17 years in October. So we've been together for longer than that, for 20 years actually, in September. So we started dating in 2000. So we didn't meet via dating sites. We were hooked up by friends, but it does work. Sometimes that way works, like in our case, and other ways, doing an app if you are lonely and want to do online dating. It might be a good idea to try it. So I'm not going to judge you or blame you for anything. So it's good. And once you find that special person, you can take them to your bedroom and you can show off your new cow bedding. It is an actual bedding that looks like a giant cow eating hay in a barn. So if you're a big cow fan, get yourself some bedroom sheets and pillowcases and the comforter and all kinds of stuff. Is big giant cows. This is the first of 2 stories about bedding, which I will do later on in the show. Yeah, I'll do it later on in the show. I can't even see it right now. It's around here somewhere. But that's a first for my show, is actually do 2 stories about bedding. So that's kind of interesting. So, and then animal weird stuff also. There's also a chicken harness you can get. I think I've talked about chicken harnesses before, but I like to always bring them up again. If you have chickens, you can put them in harnesses and walk them like dogs or cats. So there you go. So if you're into livestock and stuff, get your cow bedding and your cat and your chicken harnesses. Graham crackers were invented to combat the evils of coffee, alcohol, and masturbation. And so much so that Kellogg, who you've heard about, he created Frosted Flakes to also stem the tide of masturbation, was influenced by Graham, who made graham crackers, and so thus he made his Frosted Flakes. Or I could say just Kellogg. I don't know if it's really Frosted Flakes, just Kellogg Corn Flakes, I guess it is, to help stem the tide of masturbation, because masturbation is bad. It's bad. It's bad. Deaths this week. John Andretti of NASCAR passed away this week at the age of 60-something, I believe. Mary Higgins Clark, mystery writer and thriller writer, stuff like that. A lot of people have read some of her books once or twice. I know the name at the top of my head. I can't think of what the name of one of her books is right now. So let me It's like something about the roses. Mary Higgins Clark. Um, Where are the Children, The Cinderella Murder, Sleeping Beauty, Killer, All by Myself Alone, A Stranger's Watching, You Don't Own Me, Every Breath You Take. Kiss the Girls and Make Them Cry, All Around the Town, I'll Walk Alone, Cry in the Night, The Melody Lingers On, Lost Years, Two Little Girls in Blue, Love Music, Loves to Dance, Christmas Thief, I've Got You Under My Skin, Nighttime is My Time, Carol Higgins, Deck the Halls, Mount Vernon, A Love Story, Santa Cruz, No Place Like Home. I thought it was something else. The Cradle Will Fall. That's the one that they made the movie on. That's another one. As Time Goes By, Weep No More, My Lady. Where Are You Now, Before I Say Goodbye. She's written a ton of books. All these books I'll Be Seeing You, Second Time Around, On the Street Where You Live, My Gal Sunday. The Silent Night. She's written a bunch of Christmas ones, but it looks like a lot of thriller, mystery type things. I could have sworn there was like a more popular one, but a lot of people knew who she was. And she's one of those popular authors that, you go to airports or grocery stores or whatever, and you would always see her books, at those places, because those are like the mass media paperbacks that everybody likes to read, like your Stephen Kings and your John Grishams and stuff like that. So, she passed away this week as well. And the big story this week was Kobe Bryant passed away earlier this week in a helicopter crash that also killed his 13-year-old daughter and 7 others. And it's been a huge outpouring from the NBA and all sports, actually, but the NBA is affected most. Los Angeles was affected most. He was a Laker for his entire 20-year career. He was going to be a future Hall of Famer since he didn't retire till 3 years ago or something like that. But because of his untimely death, they are going to move up the time for him to posthumously enter the Hall of Fame. So he's going to be entering, I think, this year's class. And no one is debating that. A lot of basketball teams. There's one of Kobe's numbers was 24. He also did number 8, but one was 24. 24 also happens to be the same number that the shot clock was. So I think the first one I saw was the first team to play basketball after the announcement of the death was the Grizzlies and the Clippers, I think. Or it wasn't the Clippers because it wasn't an LA team. It was the Grizzlies and like San Antonio Spurs or something like that, I think. And what they did is San Antonio got the ball first, and the game started, and they didn't do anything. They let the 24-second shot clock go down to 0, where they would get a violation. The ball would be turned over to the Grizzlies. So the Grizzlies had a chance to start the game off. And so the shot clock starts, and they hold the ball and let it go down for a violation as well, give it back to the Spurs, and the game started for real. So that was a tribute to him. LeBron James, who is on the Lakers now and knew Kobe a little bit, I think played with him on maybe the U.S. Olympic team, where Kobe has played a number of times, has won 2 gold medals with them, I believe. LeBron James came out before the first Lakers game at home and did a 10-minute speech about Kobe that was really, really good. And Boys to Men sang a song also about Kobe. And then everyone, about his daughter, 13-year-old daughter, who played basketball also. And also they didn't forget about the other 7 people who passed away in that as well. And so a lot of people talking about them as well. So it was a sad time. No matter what you believe about or heard about Kobe Bryant, he's had a interesting career, rape allegations and so on and so forth. So you've got all kinds of people coming out of the woodwork, people who screaming he was a rapist and you guys shouldn't be liking him and stuff like that. And the people who just loved him unconditionally. And it's a lot of stuff, and it's real hard to quantify how things are and how it affects somebody. I've never been a big NBA guy. I know who Kobe Bryant was, but I never really paid much attention. I mean, I knew about his rape stuff, and I knew he was pretty good. I knew he was the Olympics, but the NBA just doesn't really interest me, but it was the big story, and there was that. So rest in peace, everybody who passed away this week, and hopefully February will be a better time. We'll see what happens. But now we get to 40 minutes in. We get to the big event right now. It is Super Bowl Eve, as I said, 10 o'clock now, so we're getting probably close to the end of the game. So we'd either have a good idea of who's going to be winning the game or it's going to be close. I personally believe that the game is going to be very, very close. I believe between the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. I believe it's going to be a very close game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, despite San Francisco has a really good defense. But Patrick Mahomes just has the ability to score real quickly. I mean, as we saw in the playoffs, they got down 24-0. They scored 21 points in about 3 minutes. And then they were down 10-0 in the game that led them to the Super Bowl. And they scored like 17 in about 4 or 5 minutes. So they can score fast. They can score hard. And then San Francisco, on the flip side, they also have a really good running game. And that's what they're going to be their bread and butter on. But Jimmy Garoppolo is not a terrible thrower. He's pretty good, pretty accurate thrower. And again, they have really good defense, and the Kansas City defense is kind of suspect. So if the 49ers are able to score some, and then Mahomes can break through this the San Francisco defense and do his magic, this could be a hugely high-scoring game. It should be a very entertaining game. And for the first time in a long time, the Patriots are not in it. So that makes it even a bigger bonus. So the odds makers have it. I don't know if it still is, but earlier this week was at 1, which meant that they believe it was going to be close themselves as well. And so I'm going to stick with the 1 and make my pick right now. You can take this to the bank. I will probably post it tomorrow so that if I am right, I can say, haha, look at, I'm right. If I'm wrong, you all can say, haha, you're an idiot. But I truly believe that Kansas City will win the game. I believe they will beat the San Francisco 49ers by a score of 34-33. So we'll see. We'll see if that actually happens. It might not be that exact score, but I think it's going to be around that point. I think it's going to be at least a 1 to 3 point difference. I don't think it's going to be 7. I don't think it's going to be 14. I think it's going to be a very close game. It's going to be a very exciting game, and I will probably be cheering for the Chiefs as well, due only to the fact that the last time they were in the Super Bowl, I was negative 20. Hold on. 14 years old, negative 14 years old. 50 years ago. Right, 46. No, hold on. Negative 4 years. Yeah, I'm almost 50. I'm going to be 47 this year. So negative 3 years, I should say. So my sister turns 50 this year. Regardless, it's been 50 years since Kansas City has been in a Super Bowl. 50 years. I mean, I can't even imagine the length of time that is, because we had the Colts. I guess the Colts, yeah, the last time they were in it was in the 70s. So we would be a little bit above them. It was above 70, I'll tell you that. But I think it would be close to that if the Colts. But of course, if the Colts had stayed in Baltimore, we would have seen how things go. It might have turned out we might have had a few more Super Bowls under our belt at that point. They didn't. They went to Indianapolis. They didn't get into the Super Bowl again for a while until Peyton Manning rolled around. But the Ravens were last in it, like 7 years ago, against a team by the name of, the San Francisco 49ers. So the last time the 49ers were in was only about 7 years ago, not even a decade. And they also had a time where they won like 4 straight Super Bowls with Joe Montana and Steve Young. And so I would rather see Kansas City win their first one, and because they've been in, I think, 3, and they're 0-3. I don't think they've ever won a Super Bowl. They haven't been in one since the 50s, for 50 years, I should say. And Andy Reid, who's their coach, deserves to get at least one ring because he's one of the better football coaches out there. So I will be probably cheering for the Chiefs, but you know what? If the 49ers end up winning, to be honest, it's not going to be the end of the world for me. I'll be happy just the same that we don't see the Patriots, and hopefully won't see them again anymore. And hopefully next year at this time, I'll be talking about the Ravens going to the Super Bowl. It'll be February 3rd, actually. So, and the Super Bowl will be February 4th. So we'll see if that actually happens. So page 2 here, 46 minutes in. So those are my picks. Again, Kansas City Chiefs 34, San Francisco 49ers 33. It's going to be a close one. It should be fun. And Patrick Mahomes would probably get the MVP if they win. So speaking of Super Bowl, Mountain Dew Zero Sugar is going to be introduced to the world tomorrow during one of the Super Bowl commercials, where Bryan Cranston will be redoing the Stanley Kubrick version of The Shining. But it'll be about Mountain Dew Zero Sugar. So I don't know. That doesn't sound that enticing to me, but that is a new soda coming up that will be available in America, not only in Japan. So that'll be good about that. Kentucky sheriffs find missing girl after psychics tell him he will find her. So they said, you will find this girl very shortly, and a break came and he found her very soon after he talked to her. So that's a pretty good, interesting story about that. Every year it is okay. Scientists discover a new species of shark that can walk. And so that's interesting and terrifying at the same time, that there is now a new species of shark that can actually walk and maybe walk out of the ocean. Possibly they're actually down the deep, so they probably wouldn't come up and walk onto the beaches. But the fact that there's a possibility that a shark could walk out onto the ground, can walk and walk out onto the beach or whatever, is kind of frightening. I don't like spam, but Costco thinks some people do. And they have created breaded spam patties, which you can get now at Costco, much like, your chicken patties, stuff like that. It's, spam, but covered in breadcrumbs that you can eat and have fun with. So if you like spam, something new to try out. Spam's gone through a lot of different things. My mom loves spam, so I used to eat it a lot when I was in the 80s, but I haven't eaten it since because it isn't appetizing to me. It's too salty, and just not a big fan of it. This movie has been cursed for the longest time. About a year or so ago, that looked like that a new version of the film was going to be made, but then all of a sudden something happened and they said, no, we're not going to do it. They didn't really explain what the issue was, but it was never explained again, and they stopped production of it. Well, apparently they will be doing production of this film starting up again. It is The Crow. Now, for those who don't know, The Crow is based on a comic book. Back in 1994, I believe, then young Brandon Lee, son of Bruce Lee, was just finding his way in Hollywood, wanted to become an actor, more so wanted to act more than do his martial arts. He had martial arts. He learned martial arts from his dad, and so a lot of people expect that he would be, more into the martial arts, but he wanted more from life, and he wanted to be an actor, but he still would fall back on his martial arts. The first movie he made, I can't remember what it was called, but it was a pretty, solid hit, and he did some martial arts. He's a good-looking guy, and so it drew a lot of attention. So then they came up, and he wanted to try to do some acting. So they came up with The Crow, and they cast him in it. And it's a great film directed by Alex Proyas, who went on to make another wonderful film called Dark City. But unfortunately, tragedy struck during the filming of The Crow when before a stunt using a gun, one of the prop masters who checked the gun that they were going to use to shoot at Brandon Lee, didn't notice any issues with it. So put it down, and the role had his character walking into his apartment and getting shot by the bad guys. And he had the blood spurts ready to go and stuff like that. And it was just going to be cap stuff, and it would set off the charges, and it would do the way they do the bullet things. Unfortunately, the prop master did not notice the little chunk of metal that was in the gun, broken off from something, don't know exactly what it was. And when it was fired, even though nothing was supposed to come out, this little chunk of metal shot out like a bullet and pierced Brandon Lee in the heart. Shot out like a bullet and pierced Brandon Lee in the heart, where he died. Now, luckily, they had finished filming most of the film, and they only had a few scenes they had to add, so they got a stuntman to come in and finish up his roles. But still, it was sad, cutting short a career that could have been extraordinary, could have been one of the biggest actors of our time, could have had a wonderful career, or might not have. He might have tanked, and might just be another guy that we know, might be an Expendables movie, type of thing. But unfortunately, we'll never know. So then they made a sequel, which was terrible, and that was it, because the sequel was so terrible they never really came back to it. So then, once comic book movies became big again, a lot of companies were like, "Hey, we need to make our own, comic book movies. We need to jump on this bandwagon." So the company that owns the rights has been trying to develop a new Crow movie for the longest time, and I'm fine with that, because the Crow character itself is so different. Is a lot like a Doctor Who or whatever, where it can be someone different every time, and it would not diminish the story in any way. The same thing is that someone's been done wrong, and a crow brings them back to life, and they have extraordinary abilities. As long as the crow is still alive, they can get revenge on the people who've done them wrong, and then once they've got their revenge, they can go back and rest in peace. So a great idea that you can utilize for anybody. You can do male, you can do female. There have been both. You can do black, you can do white, Asian, Chinese, Mexican, you can make any. It's a all-encompassing character you can do. And so many different companies have tried to do it, and for various reasons, the film has never gotten off the ground. They lost money, sets were destroyed, the special effects weren't ready, the money wasn't there, the actors got cold feet and decided they didn't want to do it. One of the actors, while prepping for the role, injured himself and was going to need surgery and couldn't do the role for about 6 months, that type of stuff. And then it looked like last year that they had found the perfect group. A good director, can't think of his name right now, but had Jason Momoa circling to star the role. And though I've never been a big fan of him as Aquaman, he has a very Conan-esque look to him. He would be a good Conan, but I think he probably would have been a really good Crow also. So I was actually like, this might not be actually too bad. And then just out of nowhere, they said, we're not going to do it anymore. And they walked away from the project. Don't know what happened or whatever. So it's been in limbo again, but now it looks like someone is dusting it off again and is going to try to get it back in development. So we'll see what happens, and to be continued. A monkey attempts to kidnap a baby in front of witnesses. And that just, I don't know why the monkey would try to kidnap the baby. Either it was going to eat it, or it wanted a replacement child, or it thought it was being abused or whatever. But it doesn't really go into much detail, but it was filmed trying to steal a baby, and then it was scared away. So I couldn't tell you what that was about. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier series from Disney Plus, which was scheduled to come out this fall, has actually been pushed up to the end of August. So now the first episode will be the first season, first episode, whatever, will be available at the end of August. So that's really good. Vision. Scarlet Vision, or WandaVision, WandaVision is still set for the fall, late fall, early winter. So that's still going to come out later on. The Eternals will be coming out in November. So it's going to be sometime, but we'll be seeing the first of the new Disney Plus Marvel shows as soon as August, which is now only 6 months away. Yeah. So, huzzah. I'm excited about that. Going to bars can always be a potentially troublesome thing. Get into bar fights. Actually, though, a good example is I'm a history major, and I like to read books all the time. And been in a nonfiction kick for a few years now. Haven't really read a lot of fiction because there have been so many really interesting history books out there. I have a BA in history, so that stuff interests me. And one of the things about being a BA in history is that while you have a Bachelor's of Arts degree in history, you have just scratched the surface of history. And because we have such overarching and overviewing stuff we have to learn to do that, a lot of little stories, stuff like that, might just get a quick mention and then move on. But there might be it might be fun to go back in and look at it more in depth. And to me, right now, my thought process is the Wild West is an interesting aspect right now because of writer Tom Clavin, who has written a number of books about the Wild West. And I've seen them in Barnes & Noble, seen them on Amazon, and read the descriptions like, I really want to read these books. So I bought most of them. He wrote a book about Dodge City. He wrote a book about Wild Bill Hickok. He wrote a book about an Indian, which I didn't even know about, was an Indian who actually was one of the only Indians to actually defeat the U.S. Army during the Old West period. And he has a new book coming out in April about Tombstone and Shoot Out the OK Corral, stuff like that. And he actually co-wrote a book about Valley Forge, which, again, I know a little bit about Valley Forge, but I don't know all the stuff about it in depth. So I'm going to read that eventually as well. So that'll be be fun to read that. So I'm just about finished. So right now what I've been doing is I've been reading 2 books concurrently. I've been reading both by Tom Clavin. I'm reading his Wild Bill Hickok book. I'm about not quite halfway there, but I'm getting close to being halfway there. It's a quick read, so it would be easy to finish that off. And Dodge City was a little bit more dense, but I'm just about finishing, probably about 2 or 3 pages away from finishing my first book of the year. And Dodge City was the story about how that famous Western town came into being and how it attracted people like Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday and Bat Masterson, and Billy the Kid's even makes an appearance in there as well. And Buffalo Bill Cody and Wild Bill Hickok are all popping up as characters in this. Tom Clavin has a really interesting way of writing. He has a narrative he wants to tell, but he can go on tangents about things, like about people who were killed in shootouts, and we learn about them by, he's done research on them as well, like where they were born, and how they got out to where they were, a little bit about their character before they end up getting killed, by them. But the book focuses mostly on Wyatt Earp and Bat Masterson and their time in Dodge City and creating Dodge City and making Dodge City as Dodge City is. So fantastic story, a lot of interesting things, and lots of bar fights, lots of guns being drawn and stuff like that, and prostitutes and soiled doves and stuff like that, and pranks and musical numbers and stuff like that. So some pretty interesting stuff. So still in the old days, bar fights are still a mainstay in present day as well. There's a video out now of a guy who has insane reflexes while he was sitting at the bar, and these 2 guys start getting into a bar fight, and one of them hits his table where his beer's on it. Instead of the beer falling down, he's quick enough to grab it and pull it off the table before it's like a split second. He sees them coming, and they hit. Just as they hit, he's able to scoop up his beer before the table gets knocked over, and then he walks away. So just the amazing fast reflexes that, oh my God, my beer. you know. It's insane to see that. So it's kind of interesting to see that as well. Stupid people think this new coronavirus is caused by drinking Corona beer. Let me just go off on a little tangent about this. I didn't go off on my mother today, but my mom is worried about this coronavirus. She's 72 years old, works at Johns Hopkins University part-time, which has a big Asian student thing. And she's absolutely terrified that this coronavirus is going to affect her in some way. And I was just telling her, maybe cynically, whatever, I was like, I'm not worried about it. And the reason why is because every few years, it's this mass disease, scary disease comes out, and the talk about, things are going to, it could wipe out the human race, or when people get sick from this virus, they could die and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. And no, it's like they have names like SARS or Ebola. And so all this stuff is going on. Everybody's like, another people found with Ebola, more people found with SARS, and, some people have passed away from it. But then it's like there's this period of a few months where it's all over the news, and they're freaking everybody out and scaring them and saying, you got to do this, you got to be extra careful and do all this. And then all of a sudden, just as fast as it got there, it's not news anymore. It's not even mentioned anymore. When was the last time you heard about SARS? When was the last time you were mentioned about Ebola? I mean, those were big stories for a while. Like, there were scientists who found Ebola has been put in, all this stuff. So I've been telling her, it's like these pop up every few years. And while, yes, it does affect people and it has probably killed people before, it's way blown out of proportion, considering that no one has even mentioned Ebola or SARS. And I don't think they've been cured. I don't think there's any vaccinations that you can take to cure those, or else we probably would have heard that. And just no one is talking about them anymore. So I'm going to say right here is like in about when summertime or late spring or mid-spring rolls around, this coronavirus is going to be another one of, okay, it was a big deal for about a month and then disappeared. As again, maybe I should be more aware of things, but I'm a cynic at heart, and the fact that this thing is out there now and is hurting people, stuff like that. But they've said there were like 2 or 3 people in Maryland that have been checked out for the coronavirus. They might have the coronavirus. Oh my God! Actually, they don't. So I'm not denying it's not happening, but it's just one of the things that it seems like after a few months, it just, and no one talks about it anymore. But the fact that there are stupid people who believe you can get coronavirus from drinking Corona beer, that just makes me weep for the country. One of the reasons to make me weep for this country. Speaking of bar fights, I just saw that. I should have connected that with my bar fight story a few seconds ago. There's currently a drunk virtual reality bar fight game you can get involved in. So if you don't want to get involved in a real bar fight because you don't want to get hurt or hurt anybody or accidentally kill somebody or get killed yourself, you can actually enter a virtual reality situation scenario where you are intoxicated and you get involved in a bar fight. I just find that funny. I don't know what. I just do. Oh well. In Iceland, cats have jobs. They give a good example of a cat in a hotel is officially called a mouse catcher, and it has a employee card with a picture on it and what its name is and what it does. And so it's considered an employee at this hotel. And I find that's funny. I find that really adorable also. This is actually a neat idea. A Nebraska doctor allows patients to pay for their surgeries. If with the whole healthcare situation going on there, it could be extraordinarily expensive. But this Nebraska doctor actually has a really good idea. He's allowing patients to pay for surgeries with volunteer work, and that kind of makes sense. I mean, if this doctor has people he can needs people's help to volunteer to work with people who are sick or hurt or injured, whatever. These people who've gone through a surgery and recovering from it, it might just be good to help other people to do that. And if you don't have to worry about paying for anything, and your worst thing you have to do is, oh my God, you got to help other people and volunteer your time and not get paid for it. It actually makes perfect sense to do something like that. And I wish more people would do that as well. Some Australia stuff here. Soldiers who were battling Australian wildfires were also helping displaced koalas and taking care of them. So there's shots of them sitting with baby koalas and feeding them milk and water and stuff like that. So that's kind of a nice story. Lush, which is a fragrance / like perfumery or whatever, is selling koala-shaped soap to raise money for Australia. So it's still good, and they're still going to need money, even though for the most part the fire is over and done with. For the most part, it still needs to be repaired and fixed, and hopefully, as has been the case in many other times where we've had wildfires, that the earth finds a way to repair itself, and before you know it, you'll start seeing more plants showing up, and you have the more healthy fire ground, that's burned down all these trees and plants, stuff like that. So now the nutrients are now in the ground, so these new plants can grow stronger. So that's kind of where the circle of life sort of comes into play. And you noticed it when Mount St. Helens erupted. Now you're like, it destroyed all that forest around Mount St. Helens. But if you go out there now, Mount St. Helens was like 1980. So what, that was 80, 90, 2000. That was like 40 years ago. Which is coincidentally my friend Kim's birthday is today. She's 40 years old. So happy birthday, Kim. Anyway, but you would notice nowadays that the forest has grown back denser and stronger after the volcano. Yellowstone, remember, had those massive wildfires back in, I guess, the early 90s, late 80s possibly, and that area has regrown stronger than ever as well. So here's hoping that not only will it be that way in Australia, but in the Amazon as well, where we've had those fires in the Amazon forest, that the plants will grow back stronger and tougher than before. So we'll see what happens about that. So, still keep giving money when you can to help repair stuff. It's still an emergency zone. It's still dangerous. People have lost their homes. So many animals have lost their lives. And it's still a natural disaster and a national emergency. Solar telescope produces a new image of the sun that looks like popcorn, and that's the plasma from it, but it is an intensely close-up version of the sun, and it absolutely, I agree with what it says there, it looks like popcorn. I mean, just bits and pieces of popcorn. So kind of neat that you can actually get pictures of the sun now and get such up-close ones that it's absolutely insane how great they look. So good on that. Speaking of popcorn, I'm actually interested in this. I'm not a big McDonald's fan, but they are selling popcorn caramel ice cream. I guess you could say caramel popcorn ice cream, but I guess it's a yellow ice cream that has a popcorn caramel flavor to it. I guess you could call it caramel popcorn ice cream if you wanted to, but they are being sold in cones through McDonald's, and that just sounds, I think it would taste pretty good, because the popcorn flavored Oreos are actually pretty good also. I haven't seen them in a while, but from what I recall, I kind of liked, it was like the kettle corn Oreo cookie, and I thought that was delicious, and maybe they'll bring it back, early fall and summer, because that's usually when you get your kettle corn. I'd like to try some of that again. But yeah, it sounds like a pretty good idea. Some people will be like, ew, that sounds disgusting. No, I think it actually sounds pretty good, and might make my way into McDonald's to try it out. I'm from Maryland, obviously, and one of the things that Maryland's known for, besides crabs, is Old Bay, which is a crab seasoning. And Old Bay has released a hot sauce that has become hugely popular. I think it's already sold out. The rumor is that as soon as it became available for payment, somebody paid $50,000 to buy every bottle and now puts it on eBay, where you have to pay hundreds of dollars to get it. It's supply and demand. People will pay that much to get it. So it's kind of a dick move. But, the fact is that it's Old Bay hot sauce. I've never been a hot sauce guy, and I might be intrigued to try it, but I like Old Bay, but I don't like hot sauce, so I don't know. Pink Velvet Macchiato is now at Dunkin', just in time for Valentine's Day. It's a pink drink. Don't know what it tastes like, but if you want to celebrate the season, as it were, and get your pink macchiato at Dunkin'. Tomorrow is Groundhog Day. Oink, 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 oink. And earlier this week, I showed my daughter Groundhog Day, the movie with Bill Murray and Andie MacDowell, and she'd never seen it before, and she enjoyed it immensely. And I like to always watch it around this time of the year, for obvious reasons. But PETA wants Punxsutawney Phil, which is the world's most famous groundhog weatherman, to be replaced by a robot. I was going to say robotic groundhog. I don't know if it's a robotic groundhog or just by a robot in general. And I'm just like, they're not mistreating the groundhog from what I can tell. They just pull him out and show him off to everybody, and they announce what he saw. And pretty much they pick what it is that he sees, because when he gets pulled out, it's basically nighttime, and the floodlights are on and everybody's taking his picture. So obviously he would see a shadow usually from that, or sometimes he wouldn't. But the people in Punxsutawney are the ones that pick what it's going to be. But it's still kind of a neat little story to see an actual little groundhog. That's right, she's doing. She's mixing something up. Tell the weather. So, which reminds me, before you watch the Super Bowl tomorrow, check out Groundhog Day. Definitely watch it sometime in the morning. I hate the fact that from like 7 a.m. on, all the networks, sports networks, will be talking nothing but the Super Bowl, which is kind of annoying because there's only so many ways you can say this and that. Now, again, even when the Ravens were in it, the two times they've been in it, I never really watched any of the pregame stuff because it's the same old stuff over and over again. So just get to the game, man. One Piece is a manga / anime, hugely popular. And Netflix has decided they want to make a live-action version of One Piece. So they are doing a One Piece live-action film live-action TV series coming to Netflix. Will be 10 episodes long. It'll be coming probably at the tail end of this year, probably. They haven't even started working on it. It might not even be till next year. They haven't even started working on it. They just announced it. So they got to cast it. They got to write the scripts. They got to film it. They got to edit it. And they got to release it. So it might not even be till next year at the earliest that it comes out. They should have had Cowboy Bebop be almost done by this point, but John Cho, unfortunately, who's starring in that, injured himself and needed surgery and rehabilitation, so he will not be able to get back to that role until probably this summer. So they'll start filming it then. So you're going to have a couple of these live-action manga series coming out on Netflix. Now, what's kind of interesting about that is most manga and anime have similar stories a lot of the time. It's a general same ideas, whatever. But I've noticed recently on my Facebook, Netflix has been popping up more and more, and they've been showing off some new series. And there were two that I saw that had mostly Asian cast members that, if I would have known better, I would have thought these sound like manga or anime stories ideas. And I'd never heard of these manga or anime, so I don't even know if they are or not. But the first one was about a artificial intelligence male character who falls in love with a real life female. So that's kind of an interesting idea for a series. So that might interest me to check that out when that comes out later on. And then there was one about a group of kids that have like powers, but they were bad kids. So I didn't really, I have to go back and find that one. But that AI one just sticks out in my head. But both of those stories sound like anime or manga stories that you would see normally, and they're live action film or TV series that are going to be on Netflix. So I don't know. It should be interesting. Saved by the Bell is going to be remade, or is reunion. Or it's not being remade, but it's like a continuation series. Mark Paul Gosselaar, who played Zach, and Elizabeth Berkley, who played Jesse Spano, have signed on to reprise their roles as Jesse and Zach. They are not married, so they are still friends, I guess. But they've all gone a different way. Apparently, Zach has now been the governor of California or something like that. And the premise is like his kids get into trouble. Yes, he has kids get into trouble, and he also got into some hot water by saying something about school districts. So he has to open up some fancy schools for non-rich people. I think that's the general basis of it, but they've cast the actors who are going to play Zach's kids, who are going to be the main characters, and then Jesse's kids, who are also going to be main roles also. They're not together, obviously. They're still friends, and they both have had their own lives, but they both are going to have families, and they're going to be main characters on the show. So we'll see how that turns out. I might just want to check it out for Elizabeth Berkley. But we'll see. Scientists read a 1,000-year-old mummy that was wrapped basically intact for the most part, if you want to call it that. And this 3,000-year-old mummy, they put through a CT scanner, and they got a CT vision of. Then they did a 3D printing of the larynx of this that they got from the CT scan. So they saw a CT scan, they can see what the larynx looks like because it's still intact of this mummy. And they can take that picture on the CT scan and whoosh, pop it in the scan. There's a scanner right here. Scan it. It's not a 3D scanner, but it'll pop out an actual like larynx model. And so they did that, and they will play a typical sound of a larynx. I guess scientists know what typical sound of a larynx is. They know how to finagle it or whatever. And that's because it is a picture, because I guess like everything else, everyone's larynxes are different because everybody's voices are different. So they've seen that, so they would be able to make a copy of that. And there's a specific voice or sound that the larynx can make. I mean, he won't be able to make words and phrases like that, but he can make a sort of sound. And that's what they did. They were able to manipulate it, and you actually got to hear what he sounded like. So basically, like if I died, they did a CT scan of my body, and they made a copy of my larynx, and they printed it out, and then they updated it. I would be and that's what I sound like. They're like, oh, so that's what he sounded like. He sounded like a total douchebag, because I am. But it was kind of neat that they actually got to hear what a 3,000-year-old mummy sounded like. So that's kind of cool. Other neat stuff in science this week. This took a lot of finagling and working out, using some computer programs and social media and stuff like that. But strangers who had decided this one guy came up with the idea of an experiment he wanted to do. Excuse me. He wanted to come up with an idea to create an Earth sandwich. Basically, what he wanted to do was and he found a website which can pinpoint using GPS the exact opposite location of where he was located at, due to from our world. So he's here, and he can find someone who is the exact opposite away from him right here. I mean, the right length opposite, perfectly opposite each other. So he found the location, and he put out hey, do you want to be a part of a science experiment? Whatever, you need to be in this location, be from this location or whatever, or be at that location. So someone answered him, and they worked it out where they would both put bread down at the same time, and they had to work out the details with the time change as well. The bread down at the same time so they could have an earth sandwich. So he would put bread down, he would put the bread down. And so being exact opposite each other, here's the top bread, here's the bottom bread, and in between it is the earth. Kind of a neat little idea. Science is pretty interesting. And it's always cool to see these types of stories. Then we have the flip side. There is an office, not mine, but there is one that I saw on Facebook that posted this note on the outside of the bathroom at their office. Basically, the note said that the office manager or whatever will do a smell check of the bathroom if one of these employees is in the bathroom for longer than 10 minutes. Because what they're afraid of is that people are taking advantage of wanting to step away from their job. They can't stop them from going to the bathroom because that could literally harm somebody if they don't let them go to the bathroom. So they can't stop them from going to the bathroom. But but what they are thinking is that employees know that they can't do that, so they could just go to the bathroom under the assumption that I'm going to just take a little break from work. I'm going to sit on the toilet but not really go to the bathroom. And I'm going to look at my phone and text or read Twitter or Facebook or send dick pics or whatever they do, and just take a break away from work and just sit in the bathroom. But they'll think I'm going to the bathroom, so they won't know what I'm actually doing in here, because he's like, people go to the bathroom with their phones all the time, so they can do something in the bathroom. I don't. I think that's disgusting to sit there on the toilet with your phone while you're going to the bathroom. I think it's disgusting. When I go to the bathroom, I go in, I do my business, and I get out. But these offices are afraid that people are taking advantage of that and making it seem like, okay, they know that they know that we see them going to the bathroom, so we believe that they're going to be going to the bathroom. When actuality, they says, hey, we're pulling the wool over their eyes. We're just going to sit here in the toilets and just look at our phones and not actually go to the bathroom. Because I don't got to go to the bathroom. I just want to get away from the floor or get away from work for a little while and get paid for it too. So now this office is like saying, if you're in the bathroom for longer than 10 minutes, which we believe you are doing just by looking at your phone and not actually going to the bathroom, we will walk in there and we'll do a smell test. If it does not smell like you pooped in there, you're in a lot of trouble. I get where companies are upset that they might be getting taken advantage of. But that's just my whole thing is I don't want the bathroom to stink. I'm in that bathroom, and if I don't have to go, take a shit, if I just want to go pee, I don't want to walk into a bathroom and smell shit. I don't want to smell pee either, but I want to smell a fresher bathroom. That's why you have the spray that you can spray out, or some people put little things up that shoot out little bursts of scent every 20 minutes or something like that, to just make sure that you don't have that stink. And I think it's disgusting that we want to have that stink, so we make sure that you're actually going to the bathroom and not just look at your phone. So I don't know. I just think that's terrible. An indie wrestler spits on a little kid after he offered a high five, and the dad said, "What the hell did you do that for my kid for?" and jumped him. So the wrestler comes out and is like, "Yeah, hey kid, let's see my high five." And so when the kid tried to do a high five, this is a young kid too, it's like some older kid. The kid tries to do a high five with a wrestler that he might like. He's like, "Ha ha ha," and spits on him because he's a dick. And the dad's like, "That's not cool." And jumps him and punches him out. So good on the dad on that, because that was just a dick move on the wrestler's part. And there's no reason for a young kid to do that to them, even if you're a bad guy, badass wrestler. It's just not right. And I'm glad he got his ass whooped. Super Nintendo World has formally been announced by Universal Studios in Florida. So I've been talking about this for a while, that there have been rumors that they're going to be making a add-on to the Universal Studios, which does the Harry Potters and Star Wars Land and so on and so forth like that. I don't know, Star Wars Land might not be Universal, but it's part of that whole Florida Disney World sort of scenario thing. But now it is official. Super Nintendo World is formally being announced. So there'll be a lot of Mario stuff, and maybe some Sonic, even it's more Sega, but still they've connected with Mario before. Maybe they'll Donkey Kongs, and they'll just do all kinds of computer. And maybe they'll even not necessarily just be Super Nintendo stuff, but it could add into the Nintendo Switch and stuff like that. That means you could do like the Wii and stuff like that. You could do some Pokemon things and My Hero Academia, and there's all video games like that, or Doom or Simulate. You do all kinds. You could do some VR stuff. There's a lot of stuff they can do, and it's going to be pretty interesting to see what they end up deciding to do with that. Aldi is selling heart-shaped pizzas for Valentine's Day. So if you want to get your Valentine a pizza for Valentine's Day, you can get yourself a heart-shaped one at Aldi. It is a heart-shaped pizza. That's exactly what you think it is. So I don't know how many slices would you get out of that. They'd be all weird looking at this. The heart shaped like that. I don't think you can get. You might be able to get 8 out of them, but they're all going to be kind of like weird. 2, 4, 5, 6. You might be able to get 6 to 8 out of that. That'd be weird shape probably, but and a lot of them are going to be rounded. So, but no, it's kind of sweet if your Valentine loves pizza and you don't want to go all out for Valentine's Day dinner. I usually don't, because Dawn doesn't really care. And I know she doesn't. We've been together for 20 years, so I've had 20 Valentine's. Well, no, I've had 19 Valentine's Days with her since we started dating in September of 2000. But anyway, I will have 19 as of 2 weeks from now. So we'll see. That's a neat little idea for people if they want to try something like that. And then after you have your heart-shaped pizza, you can go upstairs for a little fun and have Twister bed sheets. So your bed sheets, instead of being cows, are Twister. So you got all the colors: red, yellow, greens, oranges. So you have a little sexy Twister on the bed, and play Twister on your bed and end up, fucking on your bed using Naked Twister. So pretty cool. Could be fun. And there's your Valentine's Day: heart-shaped pizza and Twister bed, Twister sex. So the first Atari-themed hotel opens in Phoenix, Arizona. It's shaped like the Atari A, but it's got like Atari themes and stuff like that. So, Atari was a huge, thing in the video game world and biz, and to have a hotel based on that is to jump on the boomers and people like me who've got the money and think about the old school stuff, and it's probably a really good idea. And the fact that it wasn't in Vegas and that's in Phoenix, Arizona of all places, is kind of interesting as well, because Vegas, you could say, well, that might be interesting to go to, but there's all this other stuff in Vegas, where Phoenix is like, oh, there's really not a lot in Phoenix, so hey, let's go to this Atari thing. So do that. That's pretty cool. Bacon, well, it's not really bacon wrap, but it's cinnamon roll. You can make homemade cinnamon rolls that have bacon in them, and they showed a recipe on how to do it. So you make a regular cinnamon roll with bacon in it, and that sounds pretty good. It might be a good breakfast meal sometime to do it. And finally, the last story of today, as we're getting close to the hour-and-a-half mark, the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile was pulled over in Wisconsin for a traffic violation. So whoever was driving the Wienermobile was going either a little too fast or swerving or doing a little stuff they weren't supposed to do, and they got into a little bit of trouble and they got busted. That is it for episode 333 of Dylan Knows. I'm super. Thanks for asking. Super Bowl weekend episode. Once again, my picks, the Kansas City Chiefs will just squeak by the San Francisco 49ers 34-33. It will be a close game, high scoring, and Patrick Mahomes will become the Super Bowl MVP. I'm not saying take it to the bank, but I think, Vegas has got the odds at 1 point. I don't know what the over-under is, but I think, most of the scores I've been hearing from, pundits, stuff like that over the last few days has been in that 30, 35 to 37 range. So, it could be anywhere between 37, 34, 35, very rarely do I see more. I think there were a few people who picked 7, but, some pundits are saying, if Kansas City gets an early lead, they might be unstoppable. If San Francisco is able to shut them down, it'll be a lot closer, maybe lower scoring. So all I know is the Patriots aren't in it. The Ravens aren't in it, which is a shame. But it should be an entertaining Super Bowl with two teams that I'm fine with either winning. I'd like Kansas City. I'd give Kansas City a slight edge. I'm going to be cheering for them. The Ravens aren't in it, which is a shame. But it should be an entertaining Super Bowl with two teams that I'm fine with either winning. I'd like Kansas City. I'd give Kansas City a slight edge. I'm going to be cheering for them due to the fact that they haven't had a involvement in the Super Bowl for 50 years and haven't won one yet, where San Francisco's won at least 4 that I know of, maybe more, and have been in about 7, I think, total. So including the one where they lost to the Baltimore Ravens back in, I guess, 2012, 2013. So we got that. So next week might be another, no, not might be, it will be another 2-episode weekend, because next Sunday, 1 week from tomorrow, there's no more football, but instead we get the Academy Awards, the Oscars, which is one of my favorite times of the year. I have a couple of weeks ago, I did my Oscar snubs and my Oscar picks, but the nominations. My Oscar snubs and my Oscar picks, but the nominations. I will now, this week, I'll be doing my research, and this weekend, I will be filling out this Oscar ballot 2020 with my picks, who's going to win the Oscars, and I will give my picks to you for free on next week's episode, probably on Saturday night or Sunday afternoon. It depends on what I decide to do. I might do my regular show on Saturday night and then do my Oscar pre-show on Sunday before the show happens. Or I might do my Oscar stuff like I usually do the night before, and then do my show before in the afternoon on Sunday afternoon before the Oscars itself, because I don't think I got anything going on next weekend. There's going to be no football to watch. So that's the plan. If anyone out there, and I'll send some people to, I'll send some requests to some people that I know who always help me out there. If any of you out there, I've got one viewer now, but any of you out there who are watching this all the way through to the end, and I will mention this also in my social media feed, if you want to tell me your picks for the Oscars, I will read them on show. For those who have watched my Oscar shows before, I've done that before with my friends Lisa Marie and Scott Troutman and Patrick Smith and some stuff like that. So I'm going to reach out to them. I'm going to reach out to a few other people and see if anybody else is going to get me their Oscar picks, and I will read them on the show. If nobody sends me any, it'll be a quick show as always, and I'll just give you my picks, which might be maybe why I'll do it on Sunday, because then it'll be a quick maybe half hour, 45 minutes long to do it. We'll see, but should be entertaining. I will be watching the Oscars next week, and should be good. Next week, I haven't decided yet what the order I'm going to do, but it'll be a 2-episode weekend of Dylan Knows, my annual Oscar pick show, and a week the week that was, including the winner of the Super Bowl and anything else that pops up over the upcoming week. I'll give you the winner of the Super Bowl. I'll give you the winner of winter or spring when it comes to the groundhog, and I'll do some other stuff as well, depending on what this week brings coming up. Should be an interesting week. The Birds of Prey movie comes out on Friday. No desire really to see it, but there tends to be, it should make a lot of money and probably be the #1 movie next weekend. So until then, keep an eye out for, don't worry about it right now, but tomorrow is Super Bowl. enjoy your football. If you don't want to if you don't want to watch football, that's fine. Watch whatever you want to do during the Puppy Bowl. You can watch that as well. Watch the Super Bowl commercials, halftime show if you're into Jennifer Lopez and Shakira. If you're into them, go enjoy that. If you just want to watch, or if you're going to go to a party, enjoy yourself with that. Bring back next week, and then all next week, think about your Oscar picks. Pick who you think is going to win. You can go to any site, just type in Oscar nominations 2020. They'll give you a list. You can print it out, make your copies. You can follow along with me. I was 18 and 6 last year, so I did pretty good last year. I think I missed out on some of the bigger awards. We'll see what happens. I will re-verify what my record was last year. I believe it was 18 and 6 though. So again, I've been blah, blah, blahing on now. It's time to shut this down. Super Bowl weekend. By this point, the Super Bowl should be over. 24 hours from now, we will have a new world champion. Will it be the Kansas City Chiefs or the San Francisco 49ers? Again, my choice, Kansas City Chiefs winning 34-33 over the 49ers. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy the game tomorrow. It's going to be nice, warm weather here on the East Coast next week, so definitely not February related. And then my big event next weekend, the Oscars. I cannot wait because I actually have seen a number of the films this year, unlike previous years. So should be fun. Send me your lists, and good luck to you in your Super Bowl pools and stuff like that. Again, Kansas City 34, San Francisco 33. Enjoy Super Bowl. Enjoy your weekend. I'm outie.